Hello and welcome back to Lotus Reverie First Nexus. Now it looks like the tension is getting fairly high here. So what are we gonna do today? We have 4 secondary events left and we've got 1 main event. And I think why not? Let's just do the main event. No, I have not encountered anyone with that name since the incident. You don't look very convinced. Well, I've run into a lot of people. It's only normal to have to rack my brain. That name sounds vaguely familiar, like I've heard it before, but I've got nothing beyond that. Ah, but then you may know someone who does know who I'm talking about. Indirectly? Fennel shakes her head and raises a suspicious eyebrow. If I knew someone like that, I'm afraid it's too late now, but I have the feeling that's not what you wanted to ask. Me? No, girl. Who do you take me for? You can drop the subtlety, Rose. Out of everyone here, I have the least idea why there was an odd number of people in this castle until I arrived, unless you're hiding someone. We all think the same. All I did was highlight something you already mentioned before. Fennel bends her head, somehow fascinated. It's hard for me to see where you're trying to go here. Can you get to the point and just say outright what you've been thinking from the beginning? I would tell you that you're overestimating me, but it is true that I'm amazing. Why should I lie about that? Let's see. We know that thanks to the time limit, it's impossible for Topaz to go too long without engaging in combat. That would rule out my relationship between you and any of us. Unless you are connected to someone who also only just arrived, right, Sink? A chill runs down your spine the moment Rose calls your name, forcing you to come out and greet them, still startled. It's not like you were intending to eavesdrop, it was just difficult to find the right time to come forth. Cole, but I don't blame you. I'm sure that's what everyone's thinking. I was just testing you. It's not what I personally believe. I mean, you made it here immediately after we lost 2 of your own, and you did so while activating every alarm of the premises. Why test the waters first, then come and proclaim you just want to play along and take it easy? If you were trying to look as suspicious as possible, you've absolutely succeeded, but that would be too much. In addition, there's no way you could cross the river without me finding out. Your systems could fail. Fortunately for me, that's impossible. But didn't it happen once before? I actually lived through that power outage while I was at the other side of the city, although it only lasted a second. Rose doesn't take well to this offense, actually answering seriously. Hey, I was trying to support your case, wasn't I? You're stepping on that mine of your own volition. But aren't you the scientist here? You must doubt everything, and even I'm curious about that power outage. I couldn't care less about what others think. Rose flares her nostrils on the verge of losing her patience. She turns to you, requesting help with a large fake smile. We already resolved that. Sink was with me, she can confirm. Oh yeah, case closed. It was just bad luck. Closed? You're letting me down here, Sink. Those are strong words. As if bad luck even existed in a place like this. What happened to your curiosity? I'm sure you didn't even bother conducting any interrogations. Fennel gets her answer just looking at your faces. I don't know about you girls, but now I really want to know how that power outage happened. Hold on, Fennel. I don't think we'll gain anything from this, especially since we've already closed that investigation. It wasn't anyone from this castle. You really don't suspect anyone? Or is it that you don't want to suspect anyone? What do you mean? Oh, nothing. Didn't you come to the castle the very same day as the power outage? You are well informed. Then I don't understand why you're not searching like crazy for concrete answers. Come on, I'll lend you a hand. Let's split up and ask everyone in the castle what they were doing at the time. Don't just presume I've already accepted your idea, and why split up? Because if we go together, we'll only get 1 testimony per head. Separated, we'll obtain 2, making it easier to find contradictions. Good thinking, to be fair. We can apply way more pressure this way too. You know, good cop and bad cop. I'm starting to suspect you just want an excuse to play around, although I'm pretty sure who's which cop here. See, I got it all figured out. Rose will continue our conversation once we're done. Not like there's anything else to say. But yeah, let me know how the questioning goes. Not like you're going to get very far, but... Calm now. Look, I've already got you convinced. Rose just sighs and looks away. Time for interrogations. Who should you ask first? Thistle, come on. On your way up the stairs to the tower keep, you hear 2 voices already in dialogue. A Apparently, despite having split up, both you and Fennel chose to visit Thistle at the same time. It's not your aim to eavesdrop once again, but you don't want to interrupt the bad cop in the middle of her performance, especially when there's a big surprise that awaits. Thank you very much for confirming it. It was thanks to that message that... No, I should be thanking you. I always had my doubts about it. Anyway, don't give it too much thought. It doesn't really concern you. Of course it concerns me. Ever since the incident, there's nothing that is irrelevant, whether to me or anyone else. Who in the world are these two, and why aren't they arguing like always? You can't believe your ears. Appreciation and respect, what the heck are those? You strain your ears, intending to keep listening, but a strong gust of wind blows by you and the door, causing a loud noise that draws the pair's attention to you. There's someone there. Ah! Fennel practically jumps 3 feet in the air at the sight of you. Thistle invites you out of your hiding place and takes control of the situation, clearing his throat to restart the conversation. Sink, did something happen? That's what I wanted to ask. What's going on here, Fennel? What about the interrogation? What interrogation? Well, the power outage investigation. Don't tell me that's what you were after since the beginning. Good job, Sink. Huh? I finally managed to get the old man to let his guard down so he wouldn't suspect a thing when I bring it up, and you just had to come in and reveal it. Great job, 10 out of 10. But the good cop and the bad cop... Wait, you were the good one? Fennel pouts, upset at the sheer obviousness of your statement. Sorry, but no one ever would have thought that. Then you just had to ask beforehand. Now everything's ruined. Then do you want me to be the bad cop and... Whatever, forget it. Do what you want. Good grief, not a single thing. Fennel leaves the tower, slamming the door behind her. You and Thistle remain silent. Then, do you want me to repeat what I just told her, or... I don't even know why I wanted to do this in the first place. Come on, let's get this over with. Just tell me what you were doing during the power outage. Thistle seems to enjoy seeing you upset. Trying to make up for the misunderstanding, he follows your orders without any complaints. Well, I spent most of the day in the library, then I took a nap in my room in the afternoon. When the alarm rang, I made it up here. Here? To the tower? That's why I took a nap. I had the night shift watch. I'm usually the one to take it, since it's relaxing and I like the view from up here. Very romantic at night. And did you see anything? What happened during the power outage? I can tell you what I saw before the power outage, since afterwards the lights went out and I couldn't see a thing. When I arrived here, I took over Rue's shift. He was the one on watch before me. We talked for a bit and then he left. After that, I saw absolutely no activity outside the castle. What about inside then? Within the walls, everything was as usual. I remember Helio going to the training ground with his sword, and not far away where Violet was taking care of the plants. And finally, oh yes, Columbine was on patrol in the walls, just making the usual rounds. She lacks much presence, but I remember her being there, because once the blackout occurred, the very first thing I did was contact her through the internal line. It's an independent line, so it wasn't affected by the blackout. I asked her to stay on watch just in case. Always so careful with every detail. If I were to leave the tower, she was the only one who could keep an eye out. I see, but you yourself said you couldn't see anything at that night. Was it really necessary? Thistle stops for a second, scratching his chin. Now that you mention it, you're right. I guess I was just following the protocol and didn't stop to think about it. In any case, I imagine she still might have been able to hear something, so that wasn't a total waste of time. I think that's all. Sorry for wasting your time by the double. Don't worry, Fennel will find a way to put the blame on me somehow, you'll see. Don't say that like you're proud of it. Well, I think I'm done here. Rue. Not feeling like it. Of course you had to give me trouble. Is it so hard to answer what you were doing that day? It's not hard, but I have nothing to gain from it either. So you want a bribe? I never said. How many candies are we talking about? You're a good Sink. Not really, unless you're comparing me to the detective who doesn't want to do his job. Ah, true. I was supposed to be part of the investigation trio before. Did you swap me out for Fennel? Traitors, a lot of you. You wouldn't have cared even if we did ask you. Depends on the size of the bribe. You're the worst example of law enforcement in existence. The exchange with Rue takes as long as you would expect to get rolling, but after satiating his sweet tooth, he finally decides to talk. I was on duty at the Tower Keep until Thistle came over to take the next shift, and then I went to my room. I shouldn't be saying this, but could you try to sound a bit less suspicious? But that's the truth. I'm a man who's early to bed, early to rise. What do you want me to say? That's hard to believe considering the permanent sugar overdose in your bloodstream. Well, you're just going to have to deal with it. In fact, I remember the power outage caught me just as I was about to get into bed. Because of all that fuss, I ended up going around the castle in my pajamas and barefoot. That's something anyone can confirm. And I imagine that your pajamas are peculiar enough to confirm you were in your room, which gives you an alibi. Oh, how did you know that? I don't remember mentioning anything about that. Because any normal person would have started with their alibi to assure me of their innocence. But since you always want to annoy me as much as possible, you've been trying to tempt my suspicion to come after you. I'm sure you just wanted to make me waste time trying to investigate useless details, also I could find out that you had everything properly thought out from the beginning. I'm speechless. Nobody would be able to tell you're the same girl from the substation. Needs must when the devil drives. Unfortunately, I already know you too well to not notice all those details. Oh well, I think that's all. Although, you turn around one last time before you depart. Before I leave, Rue, didn't you say you spent all afternoon at the Tower Keep? From lunch until dusk? Fulfilling my duty, my eyes peeled. And from there you went directly to your room, not going anywhere else. Didn't we agree I had that part proven already? And that's why it came to my attention. You shoot Rue a sideways glance. His expression never changes. Well, I think I'm done here. Okay. Violet. What I was doing before the power outage? Oh dear, it's been a long time since then. Let me think. That happened at night, so I probably made dinner and then went to water the plants before going to sleep. Oh yes, I remember I was watering the plants when the lights went out. Then I ran into Helio and was almost scared to death. He was brandishing his sword, but that's just because he was training. He had no ill intentions. That time, the poor boy never did anything with ill intentions, even if he did make many mistakes. The atmosphere freezes at the mere mention of Helio's name. No one dares to say anything else. After that, Helio went to the gates to make sure no one had slipped in or was trying to attack us. That's how he found you, while he was expecting the east gate. You were unconscious at the entrance. In the meantime, I went inside the castle to see what was going on and also meet up with the rest. There's regulation that in an emergency we all need to stick together. If that regulation exists, why didn't Helio go with you? Good question. It was the first time something like this had happened, so we weren't quite sure what we should be doing, I guess. It didn't cross my mind until I met Rose and Rue. The latter was in his pajamas. Poor thing, he was about to go to sleep when it happened. We were laughing at him for a while after the situation calmed down. I see. You think, trying to find anything you're missing to ask about, nervously tapping the tip of your shoe on the floor. Something wrong, sweetheart? No, I don't know. I find it surprising how you can talk about it so calmly. There are very few things that unsettle me, and what happened that day wasn't one of them. It was the day we met you, so I remember it as a sweet and happy time. Violet's tenderness overwhelms you, and you're not really sure how to answer. Unless we're in the kitchen, in which case I may overdo it a bit. You call that a bit? Anyway, I'm always amazed at the amount of work you do for everyone every day. Not just in the kitchen, but also the way you take care of the castle or water the plants. In the end, the secret is simple, darling. You have to find someone you want to cook for. Cooking for someone, huh? I guess you always end up putting in more effort if it's for the sake of someone else instead of just yourself. Although here in the castle, everyone eats whenever and however they want, so I find the advice difficult to follow. That's true. But you got it all wrong. The reward comes later. No one in this world will respect or love you without getting something in return. You have to prove your worth so they can trust you. Just like how I'm trying to prove to you now that I did not do it. The directness of Violet's statement shocks you. No one? Even you? Our thoughts, even in our darkest times, don't need to go hand in hand with our actions sync. It sounds obvious, but very few actually accept that. You don't know how to respond, so you decide to end the conversation there and say goodbye to Violet. Well, I think I'm done here. Now that I'm done, I should pay a visit to Fennel and Rose. So that's all we got. No, we're still missing one testimony. Yours. You each take a seat on a different sofa within the hall. Once you've all finished sharing your discoveries, Fennel fixes her suspicion-filled gaze on Rose. If you're talking about me, I spent the entire day in my room. And nobody saw you until after the power outage? Nobody did, and considering how I'm the one who knows the most about the castle's technology, that puts me in a really bad spot, doesn't it? On the contrary, I'd say you are the most in the clear, Rose. The two girls turned their heads to look at you. The biggest hole in this entire investigation is that there were no major consequences after the power outage. Rose is the one who lost the most, since doubt was cast upon her electronic security devices. I wouldn't go so far as to say doubt. Accidents can happen to anyone, even me, although that may seem impossible at first glance. Oh yeah, I see. I think I get it. Rose is the type of person who wants to hit it off with everyone. More like I naturally hit it off with everyone. I'm inevitable, I tell you. In any case, now that we've gathered every testimony we could get, anyone have any ideas? The half a minute of silence that follows says it all. Boring. They told us both the same things, not a single contradiction. You're the one with the holy idea of splitting up. I was expecting a little bit more substance, but here we don't have a motive, murder, nothing. You think this is a mystery novel or something? You would have loved that, wouldn't you? I don't think anyone really wants to see themselves involved in something like that in real life. Rose stays in the sidelines, despite how she usually enjoys being the center of attention. Maybe that's why you lost your memories? What are you talking about? Come on, Sink, let's be serious. I understand you want to prove your innocence, but do you really think that your arrival and the power outage had nothing to do with each other? The evidence makes it hard to say, considering where they found me and the condition I was in at the time. Oh. A surprised Rose interferes with a wave of her hands, clearly excited. Sink, you still don't remember anything from before your arrival, right? You nod, gulping expectantly. Then you lean forward from the edge of your seat, clenching your fists. No, nothing. I've no idea. Pretty sure it was an accident. You almost fall to the floor as the tension pops like a bubble. Jeez, are you trying to wind us up or something? No, I was just thinking it over, but I haven't come to any conclusions. There's no motive, just like you mentioned before. Without that, it's not a crime, but an accident. What a joke. At least we got to kill some time, so thanks, I guess. You're welcome. Fennel stands up, but before she leaves the room, she approaches your seat and whispers in your ear. And about what you saw when I was talking with Thistle, that never happened, all right? You gesture to indicate your lips are sealed. Fennel smiles before bidding farewell and departing. It's just the two of you now. Before you leave as well, Rose has one more thing to say. Fennel seems quite sincere underneath that harsh demeanor. I mean, if you say so. I wish I was mistaken about her sincerity. Especially considering what she said about there being no one else left. Yeah, it's not looking very hopeful. Hope, that's the word. Maybe that's the issue. Anything you want to share, Rose? Me? No. Rose leans back to lay on the sofa, crossing her arms. It's just that in the end, that's what we're always doing, having hope. Yeah, I guess so. Although Rose seems worried for you, she's unable to look you in the eye. She says nothing more, only letting out a muted sigh. Three hearts. I want to ask you a favor. I wonder if we've got 3 hearts on everyone now. Can we check that? Maybe in the diary? Yes, we can. Columbine had 3 hearts. Well, she's dead now. Fennel, 3 hearts. Helio had 3 hearts. Dead. Rosemary, 3. Rue has only 2. So does Thistle and Violet, actually. Okay. We don't have any main events anymore. We've got a couple of secondary events. And we've got exploration. But I think I already did most of that. I don't know if I did everything, though. Let me think. What was checking around was just the one room where I've got, was it organized? No, organized wasn't there. No, don't quit. No, diary. That's it. I've got all keys for the control room. And that's where I can swap out the dice if I would have wanted to. Maul was copying the keys, I think. What were the other 2? Or other 3? I think that's what I'll be doing. Checking out which one I'm still missing. Fannel, let's try that. Ever since your last visit to this place, the image has not left your head. What you saw and felt that day, it all remains vivid in your mind. How did I know? Doesn't everyone know? It makes sense you remember it. Iris, or, well, the other Iris. The magical girl appears with her usual song and dance. You know your usual questions won't work with her. There are more memories here, right? Many, in fact. That's why you are here. The memories of this place have transcended. They're no longer your memories alone. They are the memories of a new era. Evolution, yeah. The cycles of civilization come and go like seasons in a year, each one's knowledge fighting to endure the test of time. This garden was not very different from a desert in the past, and it will become one again in the future. The question is if it will happen with respect or violence, if it will be valuable or just another error that deserves to be purged. Is that the evolution you always talk about? An eternal competition, eternal suffering? Or eternal kindness and joy? You cannot recognize one without the other. Unless you learn how to use magic. You look at Iris with suspicion. The girl smiles and reaches out her hand. Humans can simulate their future thanks to their memories, see further than any other eye. Humans can share experiences that never existed, listen more than any other ear. Exalt your senses above their possibilities, destroy the precepts of the apex predator. Which of these flowers will survive the winter? You take a step back. Yeah, I was about to say her eyes look very empty. Iris's empty eyes and broken voice puts you on the defensive. A terrible migraine assaults you. How many inexplicable things have happened since you arrived? And why are you here? The migraine does not allow you to think normally. You fall to your knees, not quite sure what's going on. Who are you? The best magician in the world, the miracle that will save you from all your woes. I'm Iris, the magical girl, and I've come to bring you a story. Wink. A veil of flower petals envelop the girl, blown away by the wind. Your vision blurs, your consciousness exhausted, making way for a myriad of sentiments that occupy your mind without order or sense. It's myriad, isn't it? All wanting to be remembered, to then fall into a dream that you will forget again when you wake. You unlock the Bastion spell. Okay. What is the Bastion spell? Outstanding increase in defense to all allies around the user for a short time. I like how it says all allies. Does that mean that eventually we might have a fight where we have more than 2 units? Nothing new here. Secondary events. Reality, sure. What was your life like before Fennel? I'm not talking about all your heroine business, I mean before you came to the castle after the incident. And what got you so interested in asking such nonsense? You're supposed to be famous, it's normal. Besides, you always end up playing along no matter how much you complain, which makes me suspect you actually like it. What did you say? Nothing, it's just that if you don't want to, you don't have to tell me anything. Fennel presses a hand on her arrogantly puffed out chest and shakes her head. Can't be helped, not like I have anything better to do, so we can talk a bit if you wish. I knew it, you actually love it. Did you say something? Not at all. Anyway, I imagine they already told you about how the incident started. The others say they led normal lives until one day they noticed people were missing and saw the monolith. But nobody has a precise time frame for when it rose from the earth, as if it emerged at a different point for each person. After that, it's all as expected, panic, fighting, etc. Well, I don't know what you expect from me since my experience was the same. But you don't seem so perturbed about it, and you're the only one who doesn't actively avoid the subject. Because here you have all your heads in the clouds, while out there it's a matter of survival. To betray and be betrayed, to control who you get along with, and to never establish bonds you're not willing to break. That's what I mean. You talk about it as if it doesn't affect you at all. Well, because I'm a fully grown, mature woman, of course. Nobody could tell. What did you just say? That nobody would ever doubt it. Of course they wouldn't. But I would be lying if I said it didn't affect me. Anyone would change. We all changed. Perhaps that's why talking with you, someone without memories who sees everything from a different perspective, is particularly comforting somehow. So life beyond the castle is pretty much all around terrible. Oh, I never said that. That's what you made it sound like. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but curiously enough I remember the good times over the bad. Even if that forced you to change? What's far worse than change would be getting stuck in the same state forever. Nothing terrifies me more. Just like in this castle. just like in this castle. You understand Fennel better now. Thistle is not coming tonight. Better go to sleep before the tension maxes out. Alright. Secondary events. I doubt we have a new... Oh, we do have a new main event. Selfish Union. Okay, let's go for it. You want me to sneak out of the castle? Wouldn't that be breaking one of the regulations? Thistle takes a deep breath, gesturing for you to please lower your voice. A regulation Fennel is skipping however she pleases. And why don't you take action about it? I don't think the correct response to a broken regulation is to break it yourself. Do you think someone can straight up propose fighting against one of the best magicians in the world just like that? So in exchange you want me to follow her. If we have the situation under control, we can at least act first before something happens. And why me? Because you're the one person I can trust the most. Of course. You respond to this alleged show of confidence with a sarcastic and annoyed tone. And that's why you're here? They asked you to follow me? Well, girl, you've done a rather second-rate job trying to go unnoticed. There was no need to. Going out isn't the part that's important to you, right? Fennel arches an interested brow. I was thinking about what you said, about who I am and my role in this world. There's nobody or anything out here. You can't investigate what doesn't exist. That's the first and primary reason why everyone accepts those rules. They won't lose anything from doing so. Oh my, you're asking the proper questions. It's nothing more than the appropriate mentality for this new world. One cannot be led astray by appearances. So have you realized? Everything being so clean and wonderful, just like in that castle, is nothing but an awful joke. In the end, it's still a cage within a cage. Why would I want to reduce my world even more? You want to rebel against Thistle, to test him. You don't want to leave because of what's outside, but because of what's inside. Well, what's your position on all of this? That's precisely what I wanted to know. About him, about you, about both of you. You implying that my motivation is not the security of this castle? You may have some interest in security, a slight one, but all that about preparing for what might happen out there, sorry, but I don't buy it. There's nothing out there that you can't already imagine, nothing that's so valuable as to be worth the risk of someone else in the castle discovering I snuck out. What do you really want? What would make this worth your time? Thistle closes his eyes deep in thought. A small soft smile appears on his face. I suppose the free ride must come to an end, though that was to be expected once you met Fennel. Very well, Sink. I will not say you're mistaken, but you still have some wrong impressions. You know me, Fennel. You know something about me, and that's why you treat me differently than the rest. If I'm here, it's because you know a lot about me, for a reason that neither you nor him want to tell me. Until now. Not so fast, Little White Riding Hood. What until now? Because I already know you're not going to tell me anything directly about me, not like you can in the first place. I can't hear my so-called name or even recognize myself in a mirror. There's something above that blocks all that for some stupid reason, and I doubt it'd be as easy as asking a couple questions anyway. But I can know your story without any of that teacher and student nonsense. And what makes you think I'll tell you anything? It's very simple. You won't let me go along with a biased version, right? Huh? Don't tell me. You already told me everything. The girl could not feel the same as others. She can eat anything because her sense of taste is non-existent. She can live through the biggest drama and forget about it the very next day. She can become a great heroine because her emotions do not limit her like other people. A girl who, from the very birth, suffered from a lack of empathy and emotions, as if she had a filter placed over her head and over her heart, Jesus, and could only glimpse mere wisps with her eyes. The individuality that this punishment conferred her gave her the potential to become the greatest magician in the world. Ruin for anyone else, but for us, a gift. Alone, abandoned with a talent far greater than her small shoulders could carry, her life was doomed from the very beginning. Unless I was able to save her, unless I could use her, my position went far beyond that of a simple teacher, even if I had to play along as one. My mission was to gain her trust. The pressures from up above were too high to allow any other result. I had to kill her or throw her into hell. At the time, I wasn't sure what route would be more compassionate. For them, I was only a tool. There was a war. It wasn't so difficult to bury me along with the rest. That's why I believed him, just like everyone else does. because there's always a greater reason, a cause so noble and authentic that it's impossible to turn your back to it, until you see the truth of what it was all for. My goal was to become a symbol, the girl who leads the change as revenge for her own suffering. The legitimacy of that war resided in my pitiful young face, even though I'd never shed a single tear. Fennel can't cry. She can barely laugh or grieve or even get surprised. Those over-the-top gestures, those exaggerated airs of superiority, those are just the masks she wears. She had to learn how to use emotions she had never truly felt herself. That's why there are times her words and expressions don't match. One would think that would lead to her being silent and listless, but that's not so. A girl who is different from the rest, who never stops hearing and experiencing how she's special. She's just imitating what she thinks she should do. That's why it all feels fake. But ironically enough, that mask is what led her to dominate and take over the world. But wasn't that what they wanted? A symbol is a lie. If I hadn't been like that, nobody in this damned world would have cared in the slightest. My talent, my individuality, my magic, all a consequence of my deficiencies. If you have what everyone else has, then you're worth nothing. It's not an exaggeration to say I'm special, so special that I became the heroine that you all wanted. But once that's finished, what else do I have left? She could become a normal girl, as long as she could stay away from her past. So I did what only I could do, the maximum I could accomplish. I was no longer just her tutor or her boss. I wanted to become her father, but that's not a relationship you can earn unilaterally. She never accepted it, but I'm selfish. He only had one job to do, one single task while forgetting about the rest of the world. He couldn't even accomplish that. He was never a respectable person, nor a worthy father. I could not accept it, not when he couldn't even take care of his own family. A person so selfish that he wants to include everything under his wing, always wanting to take care of so many at the same time that he neglects the ones closest to him. He forgot us for a greater cause. Magnificent excuses just to run away and not have to confront his responsibilities head on. Always unable to express what he felt. His heart's colder than mine. She still had many enemies. A country that wanted to elevate her from hero to queen, that needed the symbol which I had appropriated. The wisp of innocence I had worked so hard to bring out. The little I could do to fix her heart, all lost once again among the desires of the blinded democracy. I'd already stolen too much from her. Despite that, she never cried, which only made it harder. But that would not stop me from fighting for her well-being. I didn't care how high I had to climb, to the top of the army, the kingdom, and the world. I told her 1,000 times. Everything I did was because... But you know what? I'm even more selfish. If the rest of the world wanted to take him, I wouldn't make it so easy for them. I would make him go through the same thing I did. I would free him from his idiosyncrasy and keep it to myself, forever. I was born for that very reason, after all. It is what I am. It is what I'm owed. Everything else is just wasting time. Who is this old man thinking he's better than me? Thinking he can decide for me, just like when he found me? Neither he nor anyone else knows what's best for myself. Arrogant pig. I told him 1,000 times. Everything I did was because... I love her. I hate him. From her point of view, those two feelings seem like the same thing. Tremendously ambitious actions where you cut off someone else's freedom for the sake of your own ideals and wishes. That's why I won't give up until I defeat him with or without the incident. These unknown changes in the world have only elucidated the means for my revenge. If, even just for 1 second, I get him to repeat everything and acknowledge everything he's said so far was nothing but a lie, then that's enough. My last gift. The man's eyes close as he contemplates his memories. When I put it like that, it seems like I'm selling myself as the good guy while she's the villain. I understand if you don't believe me, considering my previous record. I don't know. I don't understand why it has to end like this. The incident should have helped you to forget all that. Any attempt to improve this country, of reaching some position of power to allow her to be free, that should be over. And abandon our status quo, that would be the same as forgetting who we are, as leaving behind our own lives. That's the interesting part, Sink. That is what made us go so far and stay alive. That conflict, two different views clashing with each other. Both of us have accepted the reality around us. We've accepted that one of us two will lose. It makes more sense to do so by deciding who's right, even if righteousness doesn't exist. 3 stars for Thistle. Because in the same manner that I'm the only one who dares to go out while breaking any regulations, truth is also decided by the same power. That's how it has always been, and what I have always done. The world favors me now that I can put my only talent to real use. And you have also proven it to me with these questions, the bitter seeds of curiosity. Don't be afraid, I'm only giving back what I owe you. Or better said, just giving. After all, if you're asking me all this, that's because you think I don't want walking the most arduous path. And knowing who you are, I may have already won. Why? Fennel smiles, shrugs, and mockingly sticks out her tongue at you before saying goodbye. 4 hearts. Huh. I didn't know that was a thing. For everything belongs to me. Alright. We'll do one more exploration. Do far east or near south? Let's do near south. I don't know what I was expecting. You've come so far, overcome so many obstacles, and here you are. Everything's just the same as always. Same old empty city without anyone or anything. Did you think anything would change just because you crossed the river? Your gaze scans through numerous abandoned buildings, but there's one in particular that catches your eye. Is this some kind of hideout? This place is full of all kinds of books and items right out of a witch's lair. The only thing missing is a large cauldron. You already recognize most of the books as being the same ones in the castle's library, but there's one different from all the others, one that jogs your memory. A familiar spell, a magic circle. You don't know how that kind of magic works yet, but you think you'll likely be able to use it very soon. Still, you should at least keep the book. It might come in handy in the future. These books, this place. There's a story here too, right, Iris? The girl appears right next to you, watching with wide eyes. That's right. You sigh. You already know your usual questions won't work. Let me guess, it's an incomplete story. This place contains very beautiful memories from a time that did not wish to forget the past. It is nothing but an atelier attempting to replicate the old ways of magic, something absurd considering the advancements in the scientific method. Wasting time with rituals or traditions is no longer in fashion. They're nothing more than superstitions. Tradition is a set of solutions for which we have forgotten the problems. Throw away the solution and you get the problem back. Sometimes the problem has mutated or disappeared. Often it is still there, as strong as it ever was. Or perhaps they may bring new problems from a failure to adapt to the times. Idea becomes archetype when it joins the body. It evolves alongside the human being. To think it will abandon you after thousands of years together is pure arrogance. But even if that was the case, can you blame them? They're only trying to survive, just like everyone else. Are you implying stories are alive? That's why their death is sad. And if I remember them, they will come back to life? The girl nods, putting her hands to her chest. You know I can die at any moment, right? Even if I survive, that's not worth much with the rest of humanity extinct. That only makes them all more valuable. So please, when you can, try to find those memories. You try to ask more questions, but the girl disappears like she always does. You should come back some other time. Should we now? Okay. And with that, I'm going to end the episode here because we've got one more event after this before probably the tension reaches its maximum, and the story will continue for like an hour or so without me being able to save, and my voice can't handle that at the moment. So we'll end today's episode here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.